neurohunanoveropeccamacocyllysis. This is a disease in which one's diaphragm fails to emit the proper amount of pressure to allow someone to say neurohunanoveropeccamacocyllysis. See what I did there? Now, I had this disease for exactly 90 seconds until I met the love of my life, which cured everything. The speaker button of Google Translate. Now, everything was faring well between Google and myself until I invited Google to accompany my dad and I for this one long drive in the middle of the woods. The trees were gargantuan giants, and the eyes of the night owls were ablaze marbles. Now, we unfortunately ended up making our way into a cemetery. As Google said, "You have reached your destination." He freaked me out. And it's funny. It's really funny. It's really funny to have Google tell you that a cemetery is your destination at 3 in the morning. Or give you the pronunciation for a word which means absolutely nothing. But what word would describe the situations of those who really don't want to get back home, because that very soil on which their homes are nested are besmirched in hatred from society. Now, this hatred has a multitude of different causes. The main one being our self-defined perceptions of other individuals. And this can be eloquently explained through the phenomena of the caste system in India, which brutally dominates Indian society. According to the BBC News article, Caste Hatred in India, What It Looks Like, a little child dies of falling into a well just because they are considered an untouchable. An untouchable. Someone who cannot be touched by others in society because they are considered gross, atrocious, disgusting, and a sinful blemish. Specifically, that little child was a Dalit, which in English translates as broken and scattered, or the poorest in society. This limited that child from gaining access to basic necessities such as water. And to cure her thirst, the child thought that the only way out would be of jumping into a well. One person had to yell just 4 words: "Get off the well." And the well would probably have water and not blood. But who would be even willing to be this one person if this entire society decides to segregate itself from those in need through this adamantine wall of hatred? Adamantine, such a heavy word, so deeply thought-provoking and eloquent, reminds me of a game of chess. Like watch the queen pawn, who is super adamantine, use her cleverness to kill the horse pawn and soldiers, making both of them immortal along the way. That is not how a game of chess goes, and I know nothing about chess. But there's one thing I do know. A game of chess cannot offer us a second chance at life, but life itself can. The problem in society today is that we have no motivation in helping others because we feel that one checkmate is going to be the end of everything. So going back to that example of that child who fell into that well, we thought that we cannot do anything about that child because it was destined for them to die. But when in reality, we could use that child as an example to step up for caste hatred. This phenomena is also further explained through Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi's quote, in which he says that humanity is like an ocean, and if one drop of an ocean gets dirty, then the entire ocean does not get dirty. So if humanity is an ocean, then it's the most beautiful and the deepest of all. But what is the point of this ocean if we metaphorically consider one speck of dust that falls into it as a tsunami? Now, I have spoken a lot about the issues that our hatred on others is causing, but let me offer you a couple of solutions. So what can we do as a society to get closer towards this destination called humanity? Well, do the least that you can do to make it mean the most to the people around you. Take little steps to make them mean the most to others. So for example, help an elderly lady cross the street to get to her desired destination. Or perhaps help an individual who is lost gain directions. You never know how these little acts can help those in need. Perhaps that elderly woman whom you ordered, whom you volunteered to help cross the road would have been brutally injured if she had not received your offer. Or perhaps that individual to whom you were giving directions was willing to who wanted to find a route to that hospital in which his mother was taking her last breaths. Again, you never know how these tiny actions can impact someone else's life forever. Now, this takes me back to a little childhood memory I have from 9 years ago. So, when I was about 5 or 6, I was in kindergarten listening to songs that I knew would probably never make any impact in my life. One of them was actually a nursery rhyme written by Katie Stinson, and it goes, "Teacher, teacher, what do you do? I teach reading and writing too. Doctor, doctor, what do you do? I help those who are sick with a cold or a flu." So as you can tell, this is a pretty sweet song for a kindergartner to listen. And as I slowly start to reflect upon this poem, I realize that it is besmirched in stereotypes. As little children, we tend to accept everything that is around us. And if such a poem is introduced to children, then they'll try to limit their prospects to a particular profession. But it's important for us to remember that being human is not a profession, it's a duty that we all have to perform. So you cannot just help the poor by being a doctor or by being a firefighter or a teacher. You need to be a human, you need to be empathetic. A doctor themselves doesn't just need to be knowledgeable about medications to be a good doctor. They need to be empathetic, they need to be a good human. They need to be able to hold the hands of a patient grieving the loss of their parent. And the same goes for a teacher. A teacher mustn't just throw knowledge at her students. She must empathize with them and help them emotionally grow and develop. And all of these skills are skills of being a human, not confined to a particular profession. Through my speech, I hope you have succumbed to realize that being human, again, is not just a profession, it's a duty. And we must perform this duty by taking simple steps, doing the least that we can do to help to make it mean the most to those around us. And this will help us create Destination Humanity, a place where there's more love than hatred, where there's more gratitude than indignation, where there's more peace than chaos. And speaking of love and the emotion of love that I've created, I'd like to go back to Google. Google, as I said, has been my biggest love, and I have totally given up upon it. Partly because of that 3 a.m. incident, but also because it gave me the most imbecile definition for what a human is. Ready? So according to dictionary.com, a human is something that is not an animal or an alien. So is a human an insect? Is a human a chair? Is a human a table? Is a human a pencil? No. A human is someone who cares for others, who thinks of everyone's emotions as his or her own, who looks at Destination Humanity to be ours and this entire world to be ours. Thank you.